Do I have to list that relative on my SF-86 even though I'm not in contact with them? Hi, this is Lindy Kaiser with clearancejobs.com. We've covered that topic a few times over at our Clearance Jobs news site, but I'm not sure if we've addressed it in a video update. It's one that came into my inbox just a few weeks ago, and someone was asking about listing a relative that they weren't in contact with. This comes up fairly often. The complexity of family situations means there might be close relatives that you have to list on your SF-86 that you don't actually A, know, or B, have very much information about. In any of those cases, it's always best to list as much information as you have without necessarily needing to dig too deep into that. The biggest way that you can get yourself in trouble is by simply failing to list a relative and know, like this individual asked, just because you're not in contact with them does not mean that you do not have to list them. If there is some reason that you're concerned about listing a relative, maybe they have a criminal background, maybe they're a foreign national, maybe there's another issue there, you can certainly consult with a security clearance attorney or get legal advice if that's something you're concerned about in terms of a criminal implication there. But you can't simply get out of listing that person, and the government will find that out. There was a Doha case that we've written about over at our Clearance Jobs news site where an individual actually failed to list a brother who was incarcerated, repeatedly lied to background investigators about this individual being his brother. Clearance was denied, did not work out in his favor. The government will find out about those relatives. The government might find out information about your relatives that you even don't know about. I always say if you don't know it, you can do a reasonable amount of research or kind of asking around. Maybe you have somebody that's a sibling. Again, maybe you have a parent you've never been in contact with. Find out the information that you can. It will save your background investigator some time on their end, but don't feel a need to go out to that person. Again, specifically if we're talking about a foreign national here, not a great idea to say, hey, I'm applying for a position with the government. Can I get all the information that you have about yourself so I can provide that? That's a counterintelligence issue in and of itself there. But again, if the form asks for a relative, list it. The biggest trouble you can get yourself in is by not listing that relative. Always better to be proactive and provide that information. Again, if it's asking a question, provide it. If you need to use that additional comment section to provide mitigating information, you can look up the adjudicative guidelines, find out what is a mitigating factor. Again, if we're talking about a relative that has issues, the fact that you are not in contact with them is a major mitigating factor there, so you already have that in your favor. Go ahead and list that person and go through with the clearance process. It will behoove you and be a much better situation. For more about how to fill out the SF-86 correctly and to speed up your security clearance processing time, visit us over at clearancejobs.com.